Hey everyone! Welcome to the channel. My name is Adil, and today we're diving deep into something I love, old money. Not just any old money, but some of the most beautiful and valuable coins to ever come out of Norway. You know, in my business you see a lot of stuff come through the door, but it's the pieces with a real story, a real history that get my heart racing. We're going to look at the heavy hitters, the coins that break auction records and make collectors drool. These aren't just pieces of metal, they're artifacts that tell the story of a nation, from Viking kings to modern monarchs. For each coin we look at, I'm gonna give you the full rundown. We'll talk about the history, who minted it, what was going on at the time, and why it was even made. Then we'll get into the good stuff, why it's so valuable. Is it the rarity, the story behind it, the gold content? I'll even give you some real-world auction results so you can see what these things actually sell for. It's all about knowing what you've got, and today you're gonna learn a ton. Now, one thing you gotta remember, and I tell this to people every day, value is a moving target. The prices I'm gonna mention are based on recent sales, but the final price always comes down to a few key things. The grade is huge. A pristine coin is worth way more than a beat-up one. Where it's sold matters. A big-time auction house will get different results than a local shop. And then there's provenance. Who owned it before? And of course, how many collectors are fighting over it? So, keep that in mind. Alright, let's get started. Alright, let's kick things off with a real monster. This isn't just a rare coin, it's a legend. We're talking about the Frederick III 3 Speciedaler from 1666, with the FG Mintmaster mark. When a coin like this comes up for sale, the entire numismatic world stops and watches. It's the kind of piece you might see once in a lifetime, if you're lucky. It's big, it's heavy, and it's got a presence that just screams importance. You hold something like this, and you can feel the history. So, who was Frederick III? He was the king of Denmark and Norway back in the mid-17th century. This was a time of big changes. He introduced absolute monarchy, basically telling the nobles, "Thanks for your help, but I'll take it from here." To show off his new centralized power, he needed impressive symbols. And what's more impressive than a massive silver coin with your face on it? These large denomination coins weren't for buying a loaf of bread, they were presentation pieces, made for royalty, dignitaries, and the ultra-wealthy. The 3 Speciedaler was the king of them all, a statement of power and wealth. It was minted in Copenhagen but circulated throughout the dual monarchy of Denmark-Norway. Now, the key here is the mint master's initials, FG, which stand for Frederick Gruner. His tenure was brief, and for some reason, very few of these 3 Speciedaler coins were struck with his mark. We're talking about a handful known to exist. That level of rarity is what gets collectors' blood pumping. It's the ultimate treasure hunt. When you're dealing with something this rare, you're not just buying a coin, you're buying a story, you're buying exclusivity. It's the same reason a Honus Wagner baseball card is worth millions. There just aren't any to go around. Every major collector of Scandinavian coins dreams of owning this piece. It's the cornerstone of any world-class collection. You can have rooms full of gold and silver, but without a coin like this, your collection is missing its crown jewel. The historical context is everything. Imagine being a wealthy merchant or a foreign diplomat in 1666, and being presented with this coin by the king himself. It was a physical representation of your status and your connection to the crown. It wasn't just money, it was a political tool. This coin survived wars, revolutions, and centuries of being hidden away. Every scratch and nick tells a part of that story, though the best examples are miraculously well preserved. So why is it so valuable? It's the perfect storm extreme rarity, a massive size, royal prestige, and historical significance. It's a triple threat, no, a quadruple threat. We're talking about a coin where the known examples are probably in the single digits. When something is that scarce, the price is determined by how badly 2 billionaires want it. It's a battle of egos as much as it is a purchase. That's what pushes a coin into the stratosphere. Let's talk numbers, because that's what really puts it in perspective. In 2021, a spectacular example of this coin came up for auction. The bidding was fierce, as you'd expect. When the hammer finally fell, the price was a staggering $432,000. That's nearly $500,000 for one coin. And frankly, if another one came up for sale tomorrow in similar condition, I wouldn't be surprised if it went for even more. That's the power of a true numismatic masterpiece. This isn't just a Norwegian rarity, it's considered one of the greatest rarities in the entire history of the Denmark-Norway Union. It represents the pinnacle of 17th century minting and royal ambition. It's a piece of art, a piece of history, and a blue-chip investment all rolled into one. Most people will only ever see a coin like this in a museum or a book. It's the stuff of dreams for collectors. To find one, well, you'd have better luck finding a Viking ship in your backyard. These are typically locked away in old family collections, passed down through generations, or held in the vaults of the world's most elite collectors. Every so often, one breaks free and heads to auction, and that's when you get to see the fireworks. It's a beautiful, imposing, and incredibly important piece of Norwegian history, a true Grail coin. Next up, we have another absolute giant from the reign of Frederick III. This is the 2 Speciedaler from 1658, minted in Christiania, which you probably know today as Oslo. This coin is special for a whole lot of reasons. First, look at it. It's another one of these huge, impressive silver pieces designed to wow you. But it's the story behind this specific coin that really sets it apart from the rest. It's not just a coin, it's a historical document from a very specific and dramatic moment in time. The year is 1658. Denmark-Norway is at war with Sweden, and it's not going well. The Swedish king Charles X Gustav has done the unthinkable. He marched his entire army across the frozen sea, the Great Belt, and is threatening Copenhagen itself. Frederick III is in a tough spot. To save his kingdom, he has to sign the humiliating Treaty of Roskilde, giving up huge chunks of territory, including parts of what is now Norway. It was a dark day for the dual monarchy, but Frederick wasn't done. Later that year, he decided to fight back, kicking off another war. To fund this new war effort and to rally his subjects, he needed to project strength and stability. That's where this coin comes in. It was minted at the Christiania Mint in Norway, a message to the Norwegian people that the crown was still strong, still in control, and still capable of producing these magnificent symbols of wealth and power, even in the middle of a crisis. This coin is what we call a presentation piece. Like the 3 Speciedaler, it wasn't meant for everyday trade. It was likely struck to be given to important individuals, military leaders, or wealthy citizens who helped fund the war. It was a thank you, a status symbol, and a piece of propaganda all in one. The fact that it was minted in Christiania is also hugely significant. It was a way of reinforcing the bond between the Danish crown and its Norwegian kingdom during a time of great peril. Rarity is again a huge factor here. Very few of these 1658 2 Speciedaler coins from the Christiania Mint were ever made. Think about it, the kingdom is at war, resources are scarce, and the mint is probably working overtime to produce regular currency for the troops. Striking these massive, high-quality silver coins would have been a luxury. Only a small number were produced, and even fewer have survived the last 360-plus years in good condition. Now, let's talk about what makes a specific example of this coin a legend: provenance. In the world of high-end collectibles, the history of who owned an item can be just as important as the item itself. The best-known example of this coin has a truly incredible ownership history. It was once part of the legendary collection of the King of Egypt, Farouk I, a man who collected everything from stamps to sports cars to, yes, rare coins. After King Farouk was overthrown in 1952, his massive collections were sold off in a famous series of auctions. The sale of his coin collection was a global event, and owning a King Farouk coin gives it a level of prestige that is almost unmatched. It adds a whole other layer of history and romance to the piece. It's been in the hands of not one, but 2 kings. You can't write a better backstory than that. That specific coin, with its royal provenance, came up for auction, and the result was, as you can imagine, spectacular. It sold for over $210,000. That price reflects not just the coin's rarity and historical importance, but also that incredible story of its journey from one king, Frederick III, to another, King Farouk, and finally to a modern collector. You're buying a unique narrative that no other example of this coin can claim. So, when you look at the 1658 2 Speciedaler, you're seeing more than just silver. You're seeing the defiance of a king at war. You're seeing the skill of the 17th century mint masters in Christiania. And, in the case of the finest examples, you're seeing a direct link to the glitz, glamour, and drama of 20th century royalty. It's a coin that has it all, and it stands as one of the most desirable pieces in all of Norwegian numismatics. Sometimes the story isn't about a single coin, but about an entire collection. And when it comes to Scandinavian coins, there is one collection that stands above all others: the Le Brun collection. Lars Emil Brun was a Danish butter magnate, yeah, butter, who lived from the mid-1800s to the early 1920s. He used his fortune to assemble the most comprehensive and highest quality collection of Scandinavian coins the world has ever seen. This wasn't just a hobby for him, it was a scholarly pursuit. Brun's goal was simple. He wanted to own one of everything. Every coin, every denomination, every variety from every mint in Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and their territories. And he pretty much succeeded. His collection was so vast and so important that upon his death in 1923, his will stipulated that it should be held as a national reserve for 100 years, available for purchase by the Danish government in case the national collection was ever lost or destroyed. It was a backup for a country's entire monetary history. For a century, the Ellie Brun collection was the stuff of legend. Collectors knew it existed, locked away in a vault, but it was completely off the market. It was like knowing there's a treasure chest buried somewhere, but you can't go dig for it. The collection contained not just one or two major rarities, but dozens of them. Many of the coins were the finest known examples, or even the only known examples. We're talking about museum-level pieces, a true cabinet of kings. The Norwegian section of his collection was particularly breathtaking. Brun had a deep appreciation for the entire history of the region, and he sought out the most significant Norwegian coins with a passion. He had incredible Speciedalers from the 17th century, rare gold ducats and unique patterns and trial strikes that were never meant to see the light of day. For a collector of Norwegian coins, the Brun collection was the holy of holies. Fast forward 100 years to 2023, the century was up, the Danish government declined to purchase the collection, and the trustees decided to sell it at public auction. The numismatic world went into a frenzy. This was the sale of the century, literally. The auction, held by Stax Bauer's Galleries, was a landmark event. The catalogs alone were works of art, detailing pieces that hadn't been seen on the market in over 100 years. The results were mind-blowing. The entire collection realized over 14.82 million euros, or about 16 million US dollars. It shattered records left and right. Coins that had been theoretical rarities were suddenly available, and collectors with deep pockets battled fiercely to own a piece of the legendary Brun collection. The provenance X Le Brun became the ultimate seal of approval, instantly adding prestige and value to any coin. Let's look at some of the Norwegian highlights. There were multiple examples of rare Speciedalers and their fractions, many of them in stunning, near-perfect condition. A 1629 1/2 Speciedaler from Christiania, a beautiful and rare coin sold for thousands of dollars. A 1672 2 ducat gold coin, another major rarity, also fetched a massive price. The sale was packed with coins that would be the centerpiece of any other collection. What the Brun sale demonstrated is the power of provenance and the excitement of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. These weren't just coins, they were Brun coins. They had been off the market for a century, preserved in time. For collectors, this was a chance to connect with history, to own something that was part of a grand, romantic vision conceived by one of the greatest collectors who ever lived. The legacy of Le Brun is not just in the incredible prices his coins achieved, it's in the scholarship and the passion he brought to the hobby. He elevated coin collecting to an academic level. His collection, now dispersed among a new generation of collectors, will continue to be the benchmark for quality and rarity for the next 100 years. Owning a coin from his collection is owning a piece of numismatic royalty. Okay, let's come back down to earth a little bit. Not everyone has $500,000 to spend on a single coin, but that doesn't mean you can't own a beautiful historic piece of Norwegian gold. And that's where the 20 kroner gold coins come in. These are probably the most recognizable and accessible classic gold coins from Norway, and honestly, they are fantastic pieces to collect. They represent a fascinating period of transition for the country. These coins were minted primarily under two rulers, King Oscar II, who reigned over the Union of Sweden and Norway, and King Haakon VII, who became the first king of a fully independent Norway in 1905. So right away you have a cool historical story. The Oscar II coins represent the final years of the Union, while the Haakon VII coins represent the birth of modern independent Norway. You can literally hold the history of Norwegian independence in your hands. They were struck as part of the Scandinavian Monetary Union, which was sort of like a 19th century version of the euro. Denmark, Sweden, and Norway all agreed to mint gold coins to the same standard, so a 20 kroner coin from Norway had the same gold content as a 20 kroner from Sweden or a 20 kroner from Denmark. They were interchangeable, which was a huge deal for trade and travel at the time. Let's talk about the gold. Each 20 kroner coin contains 8.96 grams of 90% pure gold, which works out to about 0.2593 troy ounces of actual gold. This is important because it gives the coin a solid base value, or what we call melt value. No matter what happens in the collector market, the coin will always be worth at least the value of the gold it contains. This makes it a relatively safe entry point for people looking to invest in both gold and numismatics. So, what are they worth? Well, a common date, circulated Oscar II or Håkon VII. 20 kroner will typically trade for a small premium over its gold melt value. You can often find them for a price that's pretty close to what you'd pay for a modern gold bullion coin of a similar size. This makes them an affordable way to get started. You're getting a piece of history from the late 1800s or early 1900s for not much more than the price of raw gold. That's a great deal in my book. But here's where it gets interesting for collectors. While common circulated examples are plentiful, high-grade uncirculated examples are a different story. These coins were made to be used. They were carried in pockets, spent in shops, and handled. Finding one that looks like it just left the mint yesterday is tough. A 20 kroner coin graded by a service like PCGS or NGC as MS65 or higher can be worth several times its gold value. The difference between a worn coin and a pristine one is huge. The key dates to look for are the ones with lower mintages. For instance, the Håkon VII, 1910 20 kroner had a much larger mintage than some of the Oscar II dates from the 1870s. Collectors are always hunting for the rarer dates in the best possible condition. The 1874 and 1875 Oscar II coins, for example, are tougher to find and will command a higher premium, especially in nice shape. The design is classic and beautiful. The obverse features a portrait of the reigning monarch, either Oscar II or Håkon VII. The reverse shows the Norwegian coat of arms, a crowned lion clutching an axe, which is a powerful national symbol that dates back to the Middle Ages. It's a simple, elegant, and timeless design. It's a coin that looks and feels like real money. So, if you're looking to get into Norwegian coins, the 20 kroner is the perfect place to start. You can buy a piece of gold with a direct connection to a pivotal moment in the nation's history for a very reasonable price. And if you get the collecting bug, you can challenge yourself to find all the different dates in the highest possible grades. It's a set that's both accessible for beginners and challenging for advanced collectors. You can't ask for much more than that. Now we get into an area of collecting that I find fascinating. It's for the real detectives of the coin world. We're talking about overdates and varieties. These are coins that have little mistakes or quirks on them that make them different from the regular issue. It might be a date punched over a different date, a die crack, a doubled letter, or some other small anomaly. To a non-collector, it might look like a mistake. To a specialist, it's treasure. So what is an overdate? Back in the day, coin dies, the stamps used to strike the coins, were expensive and time-consuming to make by hand. If a die from one year was still in good shape, when the next year rolled around, a mint worker wouldn't just throw it away. They would take a punch with the new digit and hammer it over the old one. For example, they might punch a 4 over a 3 to turn an 1823 die into an 1824 die. Sometimes this was done perfectly and you'd never know. But often, parts of the old digit would still be visible underneath the new one. This creates an overdate like the 1824 over 1 Speciedaler. If you look closely at the date with a magnifying glass, you can see faint traces of the underlying one around the 4. This little detail tells a story about the minting process and creates a rare and desirable variety. The appeal here is pure rarity and the thrill of the hunt. For any given coin, millions might have been struck with the normal date, but maybe only a few thousand or even a few hundred were struck with a single overdate die before it broke or was retired. Suddenly you have a coin that's many times rarer than its common counterpart. Collectors love this. Building a set of a particular coin series isn't complete until you have all the known varieties. One of the most famous Norwegian examples is the 1824 over 1 Speciedaler, which was actually struck over a half Speciedaler die from 1821. It's a complex and fascinating error. You have a coin with a denomination struck over a different denomination and a date struck over a different date. It's a mess, but it's a beautiful, rare, and valuable mess. Finding one of these is a major score for a collector of Norwegian silver. The price for these varieties can range wildly. A common, minor variety on a 20th century coin might only add a few dollars to its value, but a major, well-known overdate on a classic 19th century silver coin can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars more than the regular version. The 1824/1 Speciedalers, for example, is a significant rarity and commands a huge premium. It's all about supply and demand. How rare is it and how many people are looking for it? Finding these varieties is half the fun. It requires a good eye, a bit of knowledge, and a lot of patience. You might have to sift through hundreds of seemingly normal coins before you spot one with a tiny repunched mint mark or a faint overdate. It's like a treasure hunt where the map is written in tiny metallic details. When you finally find one, it's an incredible feeling of discovery. This is what separates the casual accumulator from the serious numismatist. The numismatist is interested in the story, the why. Why did this happen? What was going on at the mint that day? These little errors are windows into the human side of coin production. They remind us that these objects were made by people, and people sometimes make mistakes, take shortcuts, or have to improvise. So next time you're looking at a coin, any coin, don't just glance at the date and the picture. Get a good magnifying glass and really study it. Look at the individual letters and numbers. Look at the mint mark. Look for anything that seems out of place. You never know, you might have a rare and valuable variety sitting in your pocket, and you're the first person to notice it in 100 years. You might think that all the valuable coins are hundreds of years old, but that's not always the case. There's a whole world of modern Norwegian coins that are highly collectible and can be quite valuable. We're talking about the commemorative gold coins issued in recent decades, especially under King Harald V. These coins are a great way to own a piece of modern Norwegian history and artistry. Unlike the classic 20 kroner coins that were made for circulation, these modern issues are created specifically for collectors from the very beginning. The Royal Norwegian Mint knows there's a market for beautiful, limited edition pieces, and they produce coins to celebrate important national events, anniversaries, and cultural themes. This is where you see some really creative and beautiful designs. One of the most popular series of modern Norwegian gold coins are the ones issued to commemorate the Olympic Games. For example, for the 1994 Winter Olympics held in Lillehammer, Norway issued a series of commemorative coins including some beautiful gold pieces. These coins celebrated the event, which was a huge moment of national pride for Norway, and they were an instant hit with collectors both at home and around the world. The key to the value of these modern coins is almost always one thing: limited mintage. The mint will announce ahead of time that they are only striking a specific number of coins, maybe 5,000, 10,000, or sometimes even fewer. Once that number is sold out, that's it. They don't make any more. This creates scarcity right from the start. If the theme of the coin proves popular, the demand can quickly outstrip the small supply. Let's talk about typical market values. A modern Norwegian commemorative gold coin, like one from the Olympic series, will usually be sold by the mint for a price that includes the value of the gold, plus a significant premium for the design, packaging, and limited mintage. In the secondary market, their value can fluctuate. If a coin's theme is very popular, its price can go up. If the theme is less popular, it might just trade for around its gold value. This is where the proof editions come in. Most modern commemorative issues are offered in two main types: a standard, brilliant, uncirculated or BU version and a special proof version. Proof coins are struck using specially prepared dies and planchets, the blank coin discs. They are struck multiple times, which results in a coin with a mirror-like background and a frosted, detailed design. They are the highest quality a mint can produce. Proof editions are almost always produced in much smaller numbers than the BU versions. For example, if the mint makes 10,000 BU gold coins, they might only make 1,500 proof versions. Because of their beauty and extreme rarity, these proof editions are the ones that are most sought after by serious collectors. They will always command a higher price than their BU counterparts, and they have the greatest potential to increase in value over time. The appeal of these coins is multifaceted. For some, it's about the theme. A collector who is also a fan of skiing or polar exploration will want the coin that commemorates that subject. For others, it's about the artistry of the design. And for many, it's a straightforward investment in gold, combined with the potential for numismatic appreciation due to the limited mintage. The original packaging and certificate of authenticity are also very important for maintaining their value. So, while they may not have the deep, centuries-old history of a Speciedalers, modern commemorative gold coins are an important and exciting part of the Norwegian coin story. They represent Norway today, its culture, its achievements, and its place in the modern world. And because they are often struck in very limited numbers, today's new issue could easily become tomorrow's hard-to-find rarity. It's a different kind of treasure hunt. So there you have it. A trip through some of Norway's most fascinating and valuable coins. We've seen that the absolute top of the market is dominated by incredible 17th century rarities, like the giant Speciedalers and rare gold ducats. These are the museum-level pieces that break auction records. But we've also seen that you don't need a king's ransom to get into the game. There are fantastic and accessible options out there like the classic 20 kroner gold coins that are rich in history, or the beautiful modern commemoratives with their limited mintages. There's something for every budget and every interest. Whether you've inherited a single coin or you're thinking about starting a collection, my advice is always the same. First, do your homework and know what you have. If you think you have something special, it's worth getting it professionally graded by a third-party service like PCGS or NGC. A grade takes all the guesswork out of the coin's condition and authenticity. Second, document everything. If you know the coin's history, who owned it, where it came from, write it down. That provenance can add serious value. And finally, if you decide to sell, make sure you're dealing with reputable people. A major auction house that specializes in world coins will know how to market a rare piece to a global audience and get you the best possible price. In this business, knowledge is power, and the more you know about your coins, the better off you'll be. Thanks for watching. We'll see you.